It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
Unafeared, but man, we got a lot of reason to be. You know, there's a lot of things going on around the world, around the country, around even in Europe. Now, let me tell you what I'm going to have on today. Let me tell you a really good shoe for you. Lindsey Williams, he's going to scare us again. And then next week on Tuesday, we have Gerald Celente. So between the two, we're going to be buying a lot more peanut butter and beans. You know what I mean? Now, the one thing that I want to do is also introduce, we're going to have Ivan Eland from the Independent Institute, and he's going to be talking with us about the Federal Reserve giving away all your money to everybody. We're talking trillions of dollars. Lots and lots and lots. Went overseas, went to central banks everywhere, went to corporations, they were just handing it out. And it came with what strings? I have no idea. This is, it's gotten so bad that, why aren't you becoming a libertarian, just saying, you know what? How about you just stop taking my money, stop spending my money, stop spending whatever money in my name, indebting my it's just, where does it stop? Well, it's going on in Europe, too. Europe is becoming an Orwellian police state ruled by unelectable madmen. Now, there was a gentleman that did a presentation to the European Union, and the one thing that was of interest to me is that I wanted to understand Nigel Farage is a member of the European Parliament, and he's co-president of EFD. Now, I'm not really sure what that stands for. It's a European Freedom and Democracy Party kind of thing. So I wanted to know, how the heck do you make up the European Parliament, especially when the United Kingdom is not on the euro, I don't think, but they're somehow part of, but they call them Eurosceptics. And I don't know how you classify these guys, or other than that, I don't want to be part of it. So we're going to go ahead and play a little bit. It's crashing not just here, but all over the world. And this is what's going on in the European Parliament.
Mr. Co-President Nigel Farage, Freedom and Democracy.
Well, good morning, Mr. Van Rompuy. You've been in office for 1 year, and in that time, the whole edifice is beginning to crumble. There's chaos. The money's running out. I should thank you. You should perhaps be the pin-up boy of the Eurosceptic movement. But just look around this chamber this morning. Just look at these faces. Look at the fear. Look at the anger. Poor old Barroso here looks like he's seen a ghost. They're beginning to understand that the game is up. And yet, in their desperation to preserve their dream, they want to remove any remaining traces of democracy from the system. And it's pretty clear that none of you have learned anything. When you yourself, Mr. Van Rompuy, say that the euro has brought us stability, I suppose I could applaud you for having a sense of humour, but isn't this really just the bunker mentality? Your fanaticism is out in the open. You talked about the fact that it was a lie to believe that the nation state could exist in a 21st century globalised world. Well, that may be true in the case of Belgium, who haven't had a government for 6 months, but for the rest of us, right across every member state in this union, and perhaps this is why we see the fear in the faces, increasingly people are saying, we don't want that flag, we don't want the anthem, we don't want this political class, we want the whole thing consigned to the dustbin of history. And we had the Greek tragedy earlier on this year, and now we have the situation in Ireland. Now, I know that the stupidity and greed of Irish politicians has a lot to do with this. They should never ever have joined the euro. They suffered with low interest rates, a false boom and a massive bust. But look at your response to them. What they're being told, as their government's collapsing, is that it would be inappropriate for them to have a general election. In fact, Commissioner Wren here said they had to agree their budget first before they'd be allowed to have a general election. Just who the hell do you think you people are? You are very, very dangerous people indeed. Your obsession with creating this Euro state means that you're happy to destroy democracy. You appear to be happy for millions and millions of people to be unemployed and to be poor. Untold millions must suffer so that your Euro dream can continue. Well, it won't work, because it's Portugal next. With their debt levels of 325% of GDP, they're the next ones on the list, and after that, I suspect it'll be Spain. And the bailout for Spain would be 7 times the size of Ireland, and at that moment, all of the bailout money has gone. There won't be any more. But it's even more serious than economics, because if you rob people of their identity, if you rob them of their democracy, then all they are left with is nationalism and violence. I can only hope and pray that the Euro project is destroyed by the markets before that really happens.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good. You know, this is not just a U.S. thing. This is a world thing. And to talk about that, we got my good friend Lindsey Williams, Pastor Williams. He's we'll get into a little history. I tell you what, Lindsey, you know, because I know you're going to do your commercial, man. Let's get it over with. Get everybody to go to your site and buy your stuff and get everything. Let's go ahead and do the commercial before we get into it, man. Go ahead.
Well, you're exactly right, Ernest. Things are such out there today that I guess you have to start at the end and work back towards the beginning, don't you? But I think I need to start really with the fact that most of your audience probably knows that for 3 years' time I lived with the elite. I was their chaplain on the Trans-Oil Pipeline. The people you hear about in the World Bank and the IMF, the very people you're hearing about right now, these people, I lived with them. I sat across the dinner table from them. I lived in the same dorms with them. And I think I could understand their mindset. Now, I want to deal with something on your program today that is in perfect alignment with what you just played, and I am so glad that you just played that excerpt that you did before I came on, because okay, let's go back a ways. I was a pastor of a church for 12 years. Then I went to Alaska as a missionary. Then I went to the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline and had the startling experience and shattering experience of my lifetime in living with the elite of the world. And because of being a pastor of a church of about 400 people for a number of years prior to that, I was able to analyze many people. And so when I got on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline, I could analyze these people. I had gotten a bachelor's degree in college, had taken psychiatry, and I think I was prepared for what I came in contact with in being able to understand the mindset. One of the first things I learned, Ernest, when I rubbed shoulders with these people was to listen to their buzzwords. And when I give you some of their buzzwords today, you just played some of them, by the way. In that excerpt that you just gave, there were buzzwords there. Now, buzzwords, it goes back to the code of ethics of the elite. The elite do have a code of ethics. That's right. Not the code of ethics that you and I have, Ernest. You and I have the code of ethics of the Scriptures. We Christ. We understand moral codes. The code of ethics of the elite is quite different, and I'm going to deal with only one portion of that code today, and that is the elite, according to their code of ethics, must tell you everything that they're going to do before they do it. Now, I hope you're understanding this, because if you know how to interpret their buzzwords, you'll be able to understand everything that these people are doing when they do it. So let me point out for the next few moments some of the
they're hitting the music. So what we're going to go ahead and do, we'll hold off. That'd be a good place to stop when you come back. You know, the buzzwords. You know, that's what they were talking about. I said, look, the elite, wherever they are, they always get their badge, and they're spending my money. They're making decisions in my name all over the world, and they're linked. The Federal Reserve here in the U.S. has been given the money to do it, too. We'll talk about it more when we come back here on Declare Your Independence with me in just a little bit.